Welcome to those who are regular listeners. You will hear voices, sounds, things that have nothing to do with our podcast. So you can gladly ignore them. And if you are a person who doesn't actually do stuff like that, well, there's noise in the background. So noisiness it is. And I am a 5D Mystic mentor in the Enlightenment Soul Age group and a functional child adult. And unlike 4D collective members, who I will be talking a little bit about, well, they just make it seem like there's always 144,000 all somewhere, somewhere over the rainbow. So you can tune into our first two shorts of the day where we begin to talk about the topic of lovers, which, by the way, you cannot be if you're not securely attached, non-traumatized, because that would mean that you have unfinished business. When, on the other hand, you're securely attached, non-traumatized, that means you metabolize your mental and emotional stuff easily, and you do mindset with very much passion. So you're not only pursuing daily habits that are healthy, like not numbing yourself with drinking, drugging, fucking, or any of that business. Also, inner outer critic. Okay, so people who still work through what they call self-sabotage, which, as Janina Fisher points out, it's not self-sabotage. When a person refuses to go to heal with, like, Patrick Tiahan, good therapist, yes, they refuse because their 16-year-old, the fight response is actually making a spiteful gesture towards their own household, which really is towards their own self. So I don't actually consider any person a victim of themselves, but rather this is where we have a split. It's called the 3D, 4D collective over here with the fear frequency brothers and sisters who will follow a fancy lady in her fucking suit who says it's dangerous to have no emotions. Is it now? You're very smart. You didn't get the thorough download that you're emotional first and your affect is actually coming up all the time. Your likes and dislikes, which is where the teenagers are at. So again, their little fists are superhero supervillains, which we don't do anything about because lovers don't do fighting. It's actually bad manners. Only people who don't know how to use their words, and also people are uneducated and they do want silverbacks. So the 5D collective, we're not that. Mystics are okay with being called woo-woo pseudoscience because we're not that either. We're also okay with not calling ourselves carbonite or crystallite and making up fancy stories. Wendy, how are you having a good time with Peter Pan and the Lost Boys? Because the not securely attached women and men out there, they love things like this. So I love this, but there should be no woman because we don't need it to be a woman. We want it to be gender neutral, right? And one day someone will walk into your life. Wait, what does it say? And hold on, let me read it again. And make you see why it never worked out with anyone else. Which, I mean, obviously there's a bunch of emotionally mature men out there, that is for sure, as well as emotionally mature women, but I am interested in men. So what I can tell you though is my men friends have always told me that I'm a woman, and I've said, well, yes, I am, and I would want more men to be like Terry Real, who we're going to talk about. He's a good therapist, and Patrick Chan, because he's also a good therapist, and they both teach people who want to actually be lovers how to love themselves first. So as long as you don't know how to love yourself first, well, you don't have self-agency, because you won't notice what self-love is, which is healthy habits. Moderation is key for everything. The drinking, drugging, fucking, not cool at all. And as a teenager, I did learn that. Thank you, adults who taught me about peer pressure. And then thank you, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds for showing me what cowards do and how immature they are and how they don't know how to decide what they want to do in life. And when a 40-whatever-year-old woman I was, when I got pointed out by someone, it's hard to do what you want to do, I said, no, not really. It was... What did he say? He said, it's hard to figure out what you want to do in life. And this is a 30-year-old older man. I don't know how old, but around my age-ish, a friend of a friend of a friend. I said, no, not for me. I was actually already on the roll when I was 16 because I said, I'm going to help people when I grow up as I was an 8-year-old. And then I said, and I'm going to walk a walk and talk a talk and go to college and get my degrees. And and there you go. Wasn't hard at all. It's called self-agency, by the way. Oh, if you want, I do have a superhero story for you. It's called the superpower, my implicit memory. You have it too. Mine has a twin in it. And so my superpower is that I'm not alone with the bear. In fact, I don't pick the bear, I pick the man, even though I don't like men, not all of them. I only like some of them. And it's the emotionally mature ones that actually don't get in front of a screen and pretend to choke a woman, telling a woman who's interviewing them, this is what I make sure my men know, that they need to be able to overpower her and they need to actually have her know. And I'm thinking, wow, that woman seems pretty calm and actually intrigued by this conversation. I'm thinking, fuck that shit. And where's the police? Oh, wait, he didn't touch anybody. He's just making a video like this other man who in a minute told me why a man will fuck me, not text me back, be disgusted with me. And what was it? have self-loathing towards me or something, loathing towards me, disgust and shame, but I don't know where the shame goes. Lo and behold, he thought he did a good job. I'm wondering why he didn't mention therapy, as that's where he knows plenty about therapists. And in 1 minute, he thinks he gave a good tidbit to men and women. I don't know. Like the woman who said, remember women, if they fuck you, don't think it. And I'm not thinking anything yet, because I don't know. I'm a grown woman who doesn't live in the era of, I don't know, Flintstones, which is another thing she showed me very clearly, which is, I guess, her idea of performing and a lot more. So when you meet mentally, emotionally, and physically mature people who are teenage versions of themselves, really you get to meet their trauma time. So their 0 to 8-year-old codependent person, again, ignore the voices, thank you very much. And if I have to wave to be polite, you know that I'm not waving to you, but I can wave to you all too. So the codependent people can use Patrick Tiahan, because Patrick Tiahan will help them to love themselves first, and Terry Real can help them become fierce lovers. So lovers meet when mental, emotional, and physical self-agency, love, again, and healthy habits are pursued daily and desired, was what I was trying to get to, because, well, as Sadhguru says, it is the ability to bring out the best in others that makes you a leader. How do you bring out the best in others if you're consistently procrastinating, low on energy, basically in everything that your nervous system has everything to do with in the first year of your life? So do not securely attached people. They have coaches who tell them secure attachment is boring. It ain't boring to wake up energized, invigorated, and to know how to maintain health. It's not boring to actually be clearer and crisp with my mind, because it's an integrated brain. It's not boring to know that when I hear a woman who says, let me quote to you that which is a Bible quote, many will be called, but few will come. And then it was another quote. And then she goes on with and people hold back because of fear of becoming great, which makes me think again of teenagers. And another lady who's a spiritual bypasser, who also talks about this fear of power. And I'm like, you obviously don't know that your parents would not want you to not be powerful. So you obviously didn't get the higher self of being the lead, which means you need Patrick Chan to repair your inner child so you can feel good to speak up to any grown-up, because you're not still with a father wound or a mother wound, which that fancy lady and man in suit have, both of them, to a T, and anybody who follows them too. And then there's buffoons who have similar. So with that being said, let me read to you what Terry Real's short is, as I continue to try to ensure focus on my voice, not on the voices around me. Thank you very much. And with that being said, hold on a minute before we move. This is a quote that I got to write, so you can quote me. Love is supporting each other to fly. Love lifts you up when you're down, and it soars the skies with you when you're up. Love is always there. And as a 5D mystic, enlightenment, woo-woo, spiritual, pseudoscience, self-help, mindful living, loving lady, and podcast host and content creator, what I can tell you, it's never been easier for me to tell you all how I'm so lucky to have superpowers, meaning my twin and that implicit memory, because I don't know aloneness, while all those other not self-agents, because they're yet to say, hey, I am a ventral vagal state now, and I will continue to work to have earned secure attachment if I don't have it. Okay, so Terry Real, he's awesome, and so is Patrick Tiahan, for everybody who has unfinished business. So he says we all marry our unfinished business. I don't marry unfinished business because I have no unfinished business, because my 0-1-year-old, she's mine. My 3 to 7, she's mine. My freeze is mine. My flight is mine. 11, 12, and my fight. 14, 15, 16, and they're not leading in the way, which is why I'm a self-agent, a self-lover, and a healthy self-worth human being. So I'll talk to you in your face. I'm not afraid to tell you what I think, and I'll do so with the same thing God is, discerning, equanimous love, wise, good judgment, equanimous, common-centered, loving, because I'm securely attached. I ain't afraid to lose anyone. I'm not afraid to speak up either, and I'm not afraid to speak up. That's it. With what I can do, my best politeness, which doesn't mean anything to those who have insecure attachment, because when you have not securely attached, your attachment wounds flare up, and I'll be bugging you because what I am is perfect. No, I'm not, but I do have confidence. Teenagers. So I don't marry unfinished business, but for those who do, here is where Terry Real says, let's call it something else. We all marry the next step into our psychological development. I have no need for somebody to support me to work with my charges. I have the capacity to be anchored in my ventral energy thanks to being an integrated brain and a healthy self-worth woman who knows how to tell it to you thanks to Dr. Daniel Siegel. IPNB framework, great, and PDP framework as well. So when you do know yourself That's why Mystic will tell you it's not a few chosen ones. It's that most people ignore going to therapy, and then they like fancy ass people in suits and they follow them around. And I don't look up to idiots because, again, it's very easy, Peter Pan, to know what Wendy's doing. She's Wendy. She's not even a person. And then that's why we call them Cuscos. We're the Cuscos, and the yabba yabba dabba do. So while they wither away in distress, I have used stress because I use mindfulness practices, the mindset skills that my body, because I'm not afraid of sensations, images, and the feelings and thoughts that come up, because I got an inner growth mindset, not an inner critic, not an outer critic. I ain't making up shit in my head and talking over people in an insecure way. You should have taken my side. Da, 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 da. So again, self-agent here. I'm not liked by people who wanted me to pat them on the back. I'm not here to pat you on the back. I think everyone's weak. In fact, everybody who doesn't know how to use their nervous system is weak, because they actively don't know how to use stress or higher frequency. And then they follow idiots who say, there's only a few who will be chosen because we're great. And that means nothing to the person who has unhealthy self-soothing mechanisms, except for spiritual bypassers saying, I'm a healer. And I told her, how dare you trauma dump? Wow. You know what? Look who I met. I look back. Ha, ha, ha. Look who you left behind. That is such, that is the most you don't love someone if you feel that way about them. You're still harboring resentment for them leaving you. That's actually very petty. That's the word I was looking for, because anyone who will look at somebody who you loved, no, you still love. My teenage boyfriend, I didn't have resentment towards either of the people as they moved along in their life. Today, to this day, I'm happy that I get to be friends with them, and none of my herd members supported me because they thought it was weird. I thought it was weird that you would say you love someone and then easily just, let me toss you out of in the shithole because what? Because life happens. So it's pity. No, it's a petty behavior, emotionally mature people. They don't have to agree with it. That's the part of where closed-minded humanity exists everywhere and anywhere. So with that, what do you need to learn is what Terreal says. So some people marry, or they end up with their next step in their own psychological development. And if they're self-agents and they have love and they have health, then they know how to speak. So what do you need to learn? ? He says, we think that a good relationship is a relationship that never lands you in the mud. Well, I don't have mud, but that's because I'm healthy self-worth in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. So you can't actually put me in the mud. Even when someone said, you shouldn't be yourself. Excuse me. I am myself. I can't be anything but myself. I don't change. So Terreal continues, but that's not true. A good relationship is a relationship that once you are in the old wound, you swore you would never be in again. So that's for people who have wounds, but they have to have self-awareness, accountability, and regulation, and say, oh, look, I know how to put my prefrontal cortex, get into self-compassion, not shame, blame, fault, revenge, not defectiveness towards myself and self-loathing, gut-wrench, torn apart. No, I have a wound. It's coming up. I'm doing whatever it is, but I'm not doing what I know I can excel in. So to be a good leader, you need to be able to lead yourself. And if you don't know how to maintain balance within your mental, emotion, physical plane, you ain't no leader, that's for sure. But the ones who think they are, again, those fancy ass suits, oh, they look good. But something different happens, he says, when you're in a good relationship. And that's called healing. So when people end up in real relationships, it's love supports each other to fly. When you're down, when you're up, I will help you soar the skies. You will help me soar the skies, and nobody puts anybody in the mud. And by the way, because again, this is where self-aware people don't actually end up in the mud, because they're like, okay, I'm going to decide what I'm going to do so that I can continue to self-help, personal development, spiritual growth. This is the part to expand and become the person I know I can be, because I want to be myself mindfully with flaws and imperfections. And so you're not crying yourself a pity party. You're not doing any of inner outer critic. You're knowing how to, again, it is the ability to bring out the best in others that makes you a leader. You can't bring the best out in others if you don't bring the best out in you. And if you don't know how to use your prefrontal cortex, oh, there you go. There's lovely Robert Sapolsky. Where are you? He says we've been determined and that we have no free will. I say, I don't agree. But at the same time, there's plenty of people who don't use their prefrontal cortex. So, Robert Sapolsky, your frontal cortex is the part of your brain that is the freest from genetic influences, because it is still being sculpted by environment and experience a quarter century after you plopped out there, out of the womb. Whereas he says most of the rest of your brain is sculpted by 2 to 3 years worth of experience. And so he says, wow, we evolved. Our genes evolved to free our frontal cortex from strict genetic determinism and to make it much more sculpted environmental determinism. And then I get to share with you a little bit from me, Maria. So being yourself, it means that you are able to be by yourself without losing trust in life, love, or people. That's why you're anchored in your ventral vagal state. That's why you know how to use your prefrontal cortex. And that's why you'll have bilateral vertical overall integration. But you also have, again, the capacity to notice what comes up and not to suppress it, but also to regulate and to feel good with yourself. If you don't feel good here, that's the part of why the first year of life, the attached panicky, needs that person not only to have manners that can get your ventral vagal state, but the psych education to own the core narrative relation and solo self. Otherwise, integration doesn't happen. Mindfulness doesn't happen without mindset skills and without when you're applying an inner growth mindset that you know you're a human being with an ego. The crystalline and carbon, I know as a mystic what they're talking about because I have a rainbow body that expanded, yes, but I didn't actually get lost in spiritual bypass land because all my brothers and sisters can have heaven in their body, not just some. But the capacity for them to do so means they need to know Peter Levine, muscles, bones, and tissues. Those store trauma charges deep, deep, deep within yourself. And so there's a lot that goes behind healing, and Bessel van der Kolk, as he shares, could take 20 years. And I know what a sliver of trauma memory felt like because I had one with fear. It was really uncomfortable, like little spikes. And I don't have anything near what I'm sure some people have. So this is the part of where God is good because not all of his children might be able to get enough self-love and compassion to notice, wait, I'm not a piece of shit. Actually, oh, look, I have Diego's family. Shit, that's toxic. I didn't want to use the word toxic, but I wasn't able to use the word I wanted to use. So my mission is to inspire human potential, the higher potential, and that is by sharing not only life stories, topics, perspectives. My life stories, the topics, perspectives are from other subject matter experts, obviously, and to share how it is when a securely attached, non-traumatized person creates resiliency in this lovely restorative embodiment by doing self-awareness, accountability, and regulation in the ventral vagal state. So inner and outer well-being, you get to have them consistently when you're anchored in ventral energy because it's an integrated brain. And that's the part that's important, though. You're taking ownership and not throwing it out and not throwing it in. And you're having authentic grown-up conversations, which is really fun. So you find people are lovers when they do this. And as a teenager, I was already this, which is why I didn't crap on the teenage boyfriend, although he was a coward. And to this day, he will always be that. So will be every other person who doesn't actually know how to just talk in your face. Like a real person, you know, without being sensitive, which, by the way, we got so many that a comedian made it their mission. No, they told their mom, no, mom, we can't make jokes that make everybody happy because we got a bunch of people who are just charged with shit. No, I'm adding this. And that's the part of why I'm so unfascinated by the charged people. They limit any kind of conversation. They reduce it. It's reducted to not even history, science. I mean, there's political analysis, environment. I love academia, by the way, and books. So when I'm in the presence of people who are teenagers, they have a charge. They want people to stand with them. The fourth step to healing trauma charges is I want to, and that actually the in and out group thing. Yeah. So they like to punish each other, but nobody's punishing anybody, but we're entertained. I mean, I am as a 5D mystic in the Enlightenment Soul Age group. Again, when I see the fancy lady, only a few, I already know who's going to go there. Mean girls, have fun. You're going to look fabulous in your dresses and suits as you age and wither away inside. And at the end of the day, it's okay because, again, nobody's going to know the difference because I know you stress inside my body. I can't prove it. And even if you killed me, you wouldn't know because you wouldn't be in the brain of mine and the body mind. Oh, and we do know how to go beyond the self and the ego when we are higher selves, by the way, without stories, because everyone is part of source. We don't need to be embodying a divinity because that actually objectifies your piece of energy that you are a part of the whole. So I can notice and spot ego a mile away because it always says I and you. And it's like, no, maybe you don't understand. All life is beautiful, all of it. But we don't go describing suffering in a way that makes it accentuated. That's called pseudo-life people. They need a story, and Wendy has a fun time there. So again, as we close on out, my life as a mystic, spiritual, and mindful living, loving person is proof that you can do it too. You can tap into your infinite higher human consciousness potential, experience, be you, mindful with flaws, imperfections, and lovers, they come when they're ready to be lovers to themselves. And so again, unfinished business goes to Terry Real and Patrick Tan. And here we heal seriously trauma with ourselves, and then one person at a time. We have healthy self-worth and relationships, and those who don't really appreciate us, it's okay because we're genuine, authentic, and transparent. So I hope you have a wonderful day and that you were able to isolate and just tune on here. And again, remember, this is for everybody, but we don't look to the past and think, ha 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 ha, because otherwise you never loved them to begin with. Compersion, polyamory community, or monoamory community, we know about that because true love means that I loved you for real, and I still do, because it's called secure, attached, non-traumatized, healthy self-worth, higher self people don't pretend to love. It's like Pacha. Give you a handshake and I say I love you and I mean it for real because I'm not a liar. Those cowards who are liars, they could have went to therapy and disengaged from, being children. But they're still having fun copying each other and being envious, jealous, spiteful, with vindictiveness and low frequency. None of them are Lucifer. Let's leave them alone. They just need Patrick Tan and Terry Real to learn to love themselves first. So have a good day.